Fans, welcome back to Sports Chat. We have some special guests for this second segment. We have
Ethan Jeffers.
And Tanner Kimball.
Okay, now, these guys were teammates at La Follette last year. Ethan has moved up to the high school level. Tanner is a rising 8th grader at La Follette. So, we're going to talk a little football this time around. I'll start with Ethan. You're at the high school now. How do you like it? How is it different?
I like it because you get more, not freedom, but, you get to do more things instead
Right.
of doing the same thing. You get to lift more, you get more differences in weights and stuff. Yeah, but what I don't like sometimes is it's just when you're a freshman, you're the underdog.
You are.
It's always harder on freshmen.
Yeah.
But once you get over that, you're not always a freshman. You're going to be the team leader.
I mean, as quarterback, and there's a very good chance you'll probably be starting as quarterback as early as midway through this season. I mean, that's how Peyton Manning got started. There was a couple of injuries, and all of a sudden, freshman starting quarterback.
And
So
you
it can
always
happen.
be ready for it. And I've seen there's a freshman team that you'll be playing on.
Yeah.
That's invaluable experience because it is such a big adjustment. I mean, even and La Follette and Jacksboro play on a high level of competition of middle school football, but to step up and play 5A high school football, well, it's 5A in the playoffs. It's 3A. It's a big adjustment. I mean, you're at La Follette. Right now, you're currently without a coach.
Yeah.
So, we're looking at hopefully La Follette hiring a coach this week. And we've heard some names. I know we've talked about it very possibly being Chris Honeycutt. Chris he will be an excellent choice if they do hire him. I coached Chris at Jacksboro. Chris grew up in Cove Lake State Park when Luke and I worked there. We have a very long time knowledge and history of Chris Honeycutt. So he played on the college level at Cumberland. He's coached on the high school level under Coach Wells. So, he's got the experience.
He sounds like he'd be a good hire. And, you're all going to need somebody to get your spring drill started, which I'll assume obviously won't start until you get a new coach in place.
Now, Chris in middle school he's primarily a defensive player. Chris was a safety in college, but in middle school he also played some quarterbacks. I know Chris has a good understanding of offense, and I really think he would be a great hire for La Follette. It'll be weird seeing Chris in the orange and white because I always saw him in the blue and gold.
It's odd that lots of La Follette's coaches seem to come off that Jacksboro tree.
But that tree. That tree's got some branches on it. I mean, you can look. Now, I'll say this. There's actually somebody that came through La Follette Middle School that's coaching on the grade high school level. Patrick Trenham coaches at Cookeville High School. He played at Campbell County High School. He played at La Follette Middle School. So La Follette, they've had their fair amount too. But that Jacksboro coaching tree's just huge.
Do you play wide receiver?
Yes.
And you play on defense at all?
Yeah.
What do you play on defense?
Well, I was corner, and I'm not sure if I'm still going to be corner or not, but I like doing defense.
If you're athletic enough to play both of them, wide receiver, I'm sure as an 8th grader, you're going to be able to probably start on both offense and defense. Do you play defense too, Ethan? Just stick with quarterback.
I have before. I'm not the best defensive player in the world. I just like to stick with quarterback.
It's really best for your quarterback not to be playing defense.
Yeah.
If it's up to me, my defense never featured our team's quarterback when I was defensive coordinator.
It's not that quarterbacks are bad or Ethan's a bad athlete. It's just you don't want your quarterback to get hurt.
Yeah.
And defense, there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, there's a certain satisfaction, like even being a cornerback. If somebody's reaching for a pass, you get to lay them out. Or you run on a corner blitz, you get to lay the quarterback out. There's always satisfaction in that.
I like getting interceptions.
Those are nice too. Those are game changers.
And those are few and far between in middle school simply because outside, last year you don't see a lot of middle school teams throw the ball.
No.
I mean, Ethan here, if if anybody didn't know, Ethan set a bunch of records this past season at Follett. And, you know, just throwing numbers you don't see in middle school quarterbacks.
Numbers you don't see in high school quarterbacks sometimes.
Most high school quarterbacks really don't throw for 2,500 yards in a season. You know, he threw for about that. It's just mind-boggling numbers. And so they'll be, I assume with Parker gone, y'all are going to have a big offensive transition. I'm not sure what you'll run next year.
Like, we've been practicing most of our plays that Coach Parker had us doing, and I'm not sure if our plays are going to change or if we're going to still have the same playbook, but we have our wristbands and stuff all ready to go.
Well, I assume the new coach is probably going to put something different. I mean, it'll be hard. And I'm not sure who your new quarterback's going to be. I think, who did you tell us?
Chris Honeycutt,
No, quarterback.
Your new
Our
quarterback.
quarterback, probably Elijah Powell, and he said he's probably going to move to Jack Sparrow, so it'll probably be Shane, which is a 5th grader, upcoming 6th grader.
Hopefully, I mean, nothing against this Shane kid.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll find somebody else to be quarterback, because putting a 6th grader on the field at quarterback is pretty much asking him to get murdered.
Yeah.
Your playbook,
That's harsh.
I mean, I'm sure, like I said, the new coach will evaluate everything. I can't imagine it won't need to be changed simply because, you know, you won't have Ethan that can throw the ball as well. If you've got a quarterback throwing the ball, you're not going to be able to throw it that as much. So you may be more of a running team or an option team or something like that.
Now,
And with your speed, that may, you know, help you a great deal.
I'll-
Get the ball in your hands even more.
I'll tell you, and this is, we're going to work under the assumption that it may be Chris Honeycutt. Chris, when he played, on the middle school level, we ran I formation. Works great in middle school.
Yeah.
On the high school level, they ran a flex bone when he played and coached. So, of course, when Chris played, that last year was the Chris Johnson year, so they pretty much, it was
He's not running the
handball.
ball with
Yeah.
Chris Johnson.
But yeah, it's one of those things, back like him doesn't come along very often.
As far as the high school level, we'll see what this new coach, I guess, you say you have gotten a playbook or you've not got a playbook yet?
Some of it. We got some of the plays like down.
Large amount of the staff's not in
Yeah.
place yet.
Yeah.
As your offensive coordinator, is the coach going to be the offensive coordinator, you know yet?
Josh James, I think he's going to be the offensive coordinator.
Well, with Coach Minot, he's an offensive coach. Josh James played for him in college, so Josh, I'm sure, knows his system really well. And it's going to be a pretty wide open system.
Getting a college coach to come down there is a big deal. And apparently the kids like him a lot so far.
You're pretty happy with Minot as coach.
yeah.
My limited experience with him has been very good. I really think he has a lot of potential.
I say it's important, you know, you get a coach like that, he's gonna keep the players happy. I mean, to some extent, you know, a lot of people don't, you know, you're supposed to do what the coach says, but you got to keep the players happy to get them to come out there and play football.
Right, because it's not like college. You're not getting some special scholarship or, you know, anything to be there. You have to be there because you love it.
I think like Ethan will bring a lot of players to the team next year because I can't really think of anybody that doesn't like him.
That's huge. I mean, it really is.
Especially with his, you know, his stats, his ability to throw the ball. People like to play that kind of offense. And, you know, quarterback, it is the most important position on the team.
It really is. Now, stepping over, speaking of Campbell County football, recently found out, earlier in the week, Coach Wells has applied for the head job at Clinton High School. Now that could be a big deal if he gets it come the season. Coach Wells versus Campbell County could be a big story. I mean,
Well, he was a coach here for a long time.
there's gonna be some players with divided
Did
loyalties.
Clinton fire their coach? Or?
Clinton's coach stepped down at the end of the year.
Because he's had a lot of good seasons. I didn't know what it had.
His brother coaches at Grace Christian, I think.
That should heat the rivalry up if he becomes coach. I mean, it's pretty heated already.
Also, I've heard that Coach Wells may have applied for the Jeff County job.
That's another just a legendary program right there.
Good program.
Now, his first win as a coach at Campbell County High School was a huge upset against Jefferson County. Me and Chris DeMott were talking about it the other night, about how, you know, they weren't expected to win any games, and Jeff County was expected to contend for the state title that year, and they went there and beat them. I'm sorry, Jeff County came here and beat them. That next year, I was filming the games for WLEF. Let me tell you, I got to Jeff County. Those people took that loss personally.
There are a lot of people that takes it personally when you lose to Campbell County.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's,
Especially before Chris Johnson came along and the team actually started making the playoffs a few times.
I mean, you really have to go back to when we were in high school, when your brother played.
Honestly, I believe
4-10.
You know, we went 4-6 in 10-game season.
I mean, 4-6. I'm sorry, in a
And
10-game season.
That was the best team that Campbell County had ever had until they won 7 games with Johnson.
Ironically, in the annual, they listed that team as 3-7 because apparently the annual had to go to press before the last game of the annual. Staff just assumed they were going to lose.
Yeah, that's almost always the same bet.
It was, and you know, Campbell County owes a lot to Dwayne Wells for changing the football culture a little bit here.
I mean, you know, it's important, we talk about it a lot, to get kids to stay home, and, you know, Ethan is a big key. If he will stay in Campbell County and play, that's really great for Campbell County.
I mean, literally, you
I'm
look at,
I'm glad you enjoy playing up there so far. I'm glad you
you know,
enjoy your
it's
practice.
good to get to play with your friends. You know, I mean, there's been some good players that go to Cumberland Gap. There's been several go to Anderson County.
And see, you know, Follett, they've had very good teams the last few years. Jacksboro has very good teams, but it just never meets up in high school because Anderson County, Cumberland Gap, Webb,
There was a Jacksboro team a few years
Catholic,
ago
everywhere people go.
that had players playing on 5 different high school teams. They had one at Scott County, one at Cumberland Gap, a few at Anderson County, one at Clinton, and of course Campbell County High School.
I know some players from the team before last that played at Cumberland Gap now that were on the Follett's team.
And actually, one of those Jacksboro boys was there, Cody Webb.
I know one kid that came from La Follette Middle that goes to Cumberland now, Preston Teague.
Mm-hmm.
But he's supposed to be moving back to Campbell County next year.
I mean, and Cumberland Gap has that wide open, fun to play in offense.
I
You
mean,
know.
I'll say this, you guys are very important to the, you know, Campbell County. If, you know, you need to go to Campbell County and play with Ethan again.
Yeah.
You know, Ethan, you know, talk to all the big kids in school, because you need linemen. They're
The line needs to be your best
all
friends.
these big guys that are up there that are lazy and don't want to do anything. You know, talk to them, ask them to come play. You know, I know it's hard for a freshman to do that, but, you know, among the freshman class, you know, you got to be a leader in that class.
I'll tell you, there was a kid, I can't think of his name for the life of me. Never played football before. He was a farmhand for Gail Douglas. And Devin talked him into playing, and he wound up having a couple of really good years at Campbell. Just big, raw, strong kid. Went up there and played line for
You know,
him.
if you're 6'1" or 2, 6'3", you weigh 260, 270 pounds in high school. You're probably, if you can walk and tie your shoes, you're going to get a college scholarship somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, Cumberland College loves people from Campbell County.
You know,
Union College up in Kentucky.
That's a big deal. You think of that, $10,000 or $15,000 a year essentially that you're going to get because you weren't too lazy to go out and play football for 10 games a year in practice.
Right. I mean, I've seen good friend of theirs, Chris Perry, played at Campbell County High School, wound up playing at Cumberland College, got his college paid for because he played football. That's huge.
Like you were talking about the La Follette and Jacksboro, the competitiveness. Well, like one of the biggest achievements between that is like the Egg Bowl.
Well, you know, La Follette and Jacksboro is a huge rivalry. We just have to remember when we get up to the high school that the rivalry is over. You're friends.
You'll be friends with that.
Fans, we're running out of time. This is going to be only a 2-segment sports chat this week, simply because there wasn't a lot going on we could talk about. Fans, we'll be back next week. We're going to get out of here. We're going to get this uploaded for your viewing pleasure. I want to thank Tanner and Ethan for being on with us.
Okay, good luck next year, guys.
And come back and see us.